Hello and welcome to the second part in our three-part series looking at an introduction to social media. And for the second video, we're going to look at social media marketing. Here's a quick definition to kick us off. In social media marketing, it's how marketers use social media to build a brand, essentially. And the second point, I think, is often lost among companies, and that's the content needs to attract, encourage, and resonate with an audience. It is not businesses just throwing their stuff out there and hoping it sticks. We see this too often on social media, and I have a lot of things I can talk about in terms of examples and like how businesses are failing on social media. But I do want to talk about the benefits. If a company can do this right, what that means. So there's lots of benefits to social media, but I look at six big key things. One, brand awareness. This is 90% of businesses on social media. I'm talking organic, by the way. I'm not really talking paid. Organic social media, number one, brand awareness. That's a critical component, but it's also something that companies need to understand. Uh, a B2B company, right? A business to business organization that is on social media, any platform, pick one. If they're on there expecting to make sales, to drive revenue from organic social media, then they have it, then well, I'll put it this way, they're in for a very rude awakening. It's just not something that your audiences are going to do. And that's because really, like you're on there to build a brand, which you can do through promoting products, but more so, you need to build authentic narratives. You need to do storytelling. You need to give people a reason to follow you. And as we saw in our last presentation, people do not follow companies just to buy stuff. They want to learn about the brand. They're looking for a human connection and they want to be entertained. Yes, there is a time of year where you want to put discounts out there and you want to talk about the features and the benefits, but that is not every day. And if you don't do that, you're going to fail to not just you're going to fail to build brand awareness, and you're also going to fail to build brand equity, which, as you may recall from an earlier class, is not just how much you know a brand, but it's how well regarded that brand is. Equity being like positive sentiment. Um, Now, by that same token, I think website traffic is one of the biggest drivers here of brands on social media. It's one of the biggest results that people look for. They want to send people to their website, not necessarily to make a purchase, not necessarily to fill out a lead form. They send them to their website just to engage with the organization. Website traffic to me is kind of a connector and an extension of brand awareness. But also, social media marketing is a great way to get a cost effective communication out. If you have a big announcement, right, and you have a 50,000 follower brand on Instagram, that's an easy platform to use, and you don't have to that becomes one way that you can get your word out pretty fast. There's a couple other opportunities. There's earned media opportunities that, which again connects to cost effective communication. And being able to communicate with your customers on social media helps to improve that customer experience. Now, I'd like to pivot a little bit because the point of this course and of all of these presentations is to prepare grad level business students for social media careers, positions, or if you're already in one, which I know a lot of people watching this are, it's to equip you to take that next step. I started working in social media around 2010, and since then, I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot, forgotten a lot, but the world has really changed. And it's interesting because in the early 2010s, up till about maybe 2014 or 15, companies thought they had to be everywhere on social media. And not only did they think they had to be everywhere, but they thought it was really making a difference. It was hard to measure the impact of social media, but companies thought, oh, I'm getting all these retweets, I'm getting all of these shares, I'm getting all these comments. Of course, I'm building a brand. Which not entirely true or untrue, but since then, that feeling has completely dissipated. And today, only 12% of companies on social media feel like they're doing so effectively. Um, I don't know why that is from a brand perspective, but the thing I do find interesting is that um, a lot of time I looked into the data, and a big reason for this is that people do not trust, or brands don't trust, the people running their social media. I'm not sure why that is, but I do have some theories. One, people are Gen Z entry level marketers are growing up as social media natives. They don't necessarily have the experience or the background. Like they use it personally, but the shift from personal to professional can be really challenging. Whereas earlier generations, we didn't really grow up with social media. By the time I learned social media, I was in high school, I was almost in college. And for me, I didn't have to make that shift because when I was in college, even I was running a Twitter account for a student group. There were more. I've kind of always had that professional mindset, but also the way companies have used social media has changed over time, and now companies are looking for very specific KPIs, which we're going to talk about in a minute. They are they have very specific outcomes that they're looking for, and a lot of times the business outcomes do not necessarily match the skills or the knowledge base of the people running it. So that's what this course is really for. Um, Now, in social media marketing, I personally believe there are three key skills to succeed. I had a lot of success early, mainly because one, I was very good at writing. I could put together short, concise messages pretty quickly. Um, but also I knew the audience. And I don't put this here in the requirements, but you need to know the audience more so than anything else. You need to know what kind of messages resonate with them. You need to know what kind of word choice will connect better than others. Um, and more so, mostly with writing in particular, you need to be able to put together compelling content quickly while also staying on brand. Now, ChatGPT and other AI platforms can do this to an extent. However, there's a certain je ne sais quoi, as people call it, there's a certain missing ingredient that AI doesn't yet provide us that is really critical for companies to succeed on social media. AI can do the formatting, it can insert the hook, it can insert the key details and all the important elements, the fun emojis, things like that. But there is something still innately human about people putting content on social media. As a brand, it's funny because it's kind of this interesting paradox. When a brand is on social media and you want to stay on brand, that's one thing. Oh, I got to stay on brand. But on the other hand, you want people to believe that they are reading content from a person and not from a machine, not from a business. If you picture someone on the other end of a social media conversation, usually they're people, right? And you can interact with people. If it's a logo you're looking at and it's a company, you don't have a visualization of who that person is. It's a person, right? You believe it's a person for now. But what does that mean? Is you have no idea what they're like because you're just seeing branded synergy and corporate boilerplate. You're not seeing really the thing that you're not seeing the thing that makes social media valuable in the first place, which is human interaction. Two is the analytics mindset. We're going to learn more about this in the third video. That is, you've always got to be looking at the numbers. Social media offers you this new opportunity to look at live performance numbers immediately to see what's working and what's not. Then third, you do need to stay on top of the trends. In the first video, I talked about how quickly technology has evolved over the years and how now it just takes a couple of days for millions of users to get on top of the new platform. Um, you need to be on top of that. If your company is a late arriver, a laggard, as we used to call them, um, that can not that it's going to be costly, but you miss out on a lot of great opportunities to build a brand. So, there's a lot of social media managers skills that are out there. Again, good writing skills, some good customer service opportunities where you can actually connect with the other people on the other end, and you need a broader strategic focus. If all you're doing is focusing on going viral, getting a lot of engagement and impressions and reach or whatever, um, that's too um, that's too tactical. We need to be more strategic. We need to have a global view and global idea of what is necessary to succeed. So now we have the social media marketing strategy development, and I just want to define this before I cut our video here. So a social media marketing strategy, this will be our last slide. Um, this is where you would actually outline the strategy and also the lower level tactics for how a company is going to incorporate social media. It is it's a 7-step process, and we're going to go through those 7 steps in the third and final video. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm going to cut it here. Key takeaway on this: a marketing strategy is different from social media marketing. Social media marketing is more of a general, hey, like this is how brands connect with people, but a social media marketing strategy is a part of a business strategy. Different companies are going to have different strategies based on their goals, based on their audiences, based on their industries, and how they fit into the larger social media marketing universe is really something that is kind of the point of this whole course. And it starts broad, which we're going to look at in the final video with our 7-step process, but it does get tactical. It does get a little bit more granular when you get into content creation and how you communicate with an audience. That's where we'll stop here. Once again, for any questions, please feel free to reach out.